my channel. I look a mess. Clearly, I've been hard at work. Totally out of it because I'm taking a break, but it's okay because it's almost dinner time, so we're gonna eat soon, and that always makes me happy. Okay, so I'm gonna dive in and kind of discuss, of course, what we all don't want to hear, the money approach in terms of music therapy. Dun dun dun! Oh my goodness gracious. Money is a sore topic, actually, not necessarily in regards to healthcare, but in regards to holistic healthcare, and especially in terms of music. We all know, I don't know how many times we gotta tell these people that, like, music is not free, okay? Like, we enjoy it, yes, but, like, you know, you want to get compensated for your time. And I mean, if we think about musicians for us, for an instance, I don't know about any of you out there, but yes, I have been in the position of playing music for, like, an activity such as a wedding, such as an event, such as an award ceremony, and then of course in terms of music therapy, I did play music for a nursing home facility. But the thing is, and again, like I said before, I don't know how many times we gotta tell these people that, like, you can't necessarily do this stuff for free, you know, because especially if you're playing for a party, if you're playing for a nursing home, if you're playing for a wedding, you know, there's set list of songs and genres of music that they ask you to know and to have, even if you're, like, you know, DJing and you're not actually playing the music, you still have to have the equipment to be able to provide that recorded music. And I don't know why people think that we just do it for free. Like, no. I will play Jingle Bells on my flute at Christmas with my family for free. And it stops there. If you're asking me to play a set of songs or a genre of music, or to play to a group of people, anything in that nature, that requires compensation. And money doesn't have to be the only compensation. Like, you know, food is fine. I don't know, like, I mean, payment, obviously money, but, like, you know, if you have DJ equipment, payment towards the equipment, you know, stuff like that, payment towards my cell phone bill because you asked me to bring in recorded music and I'm going to play it on my cell phone, payment towards the speaker that I'm, again, bringing in, you know, like that kind of stuff, that's fine. But once you expect us to, like, provide us songs for people, like, payment is kind of a thing, just because, you know, you put your heart and soul into, like, organizing all the materials and learning the music. And again, even if you're just DJing and you're playing recorded music, you know, you still need to have the equipment, you still need to have the speaker, you still need to have the technology. Sometimes you might even need to download the music beforehand. So it does take time. And I think that's one of the things that people don't necessarily understand. I am not an artist. I am not crafty whatsoever. But I'm sure if you're an artist, you might get the same kind of pullback where people are like, oh, this drawing's so beautiful, I would like it. And maybe, like, they don't necessarily know how much time, how many materials were used to accomplish that goal. So I understand both sides, that a lot of times people think that creative arts can just be taken and given for free and we enjoy doing it, so, like, they don't need to pay us. But the fact of the matter is that you need materials, you need skills, you need items, you need to take time to accomplish what needs to be done. In terms of music therapy, because we just discussed, like, music as a creative entertainment entity, we discussed a little bit of art. But in terms of music, not only like they need to pay for your guitar, they need to pay for your sheet music, they need to pay for your speaker, for your computer, for your phone. However you're going to take notes, they need to pay for your Wi-Fi access and for whatever documentation service they want you to write notes on. They need to pay you to write the notes. That's one of the things that always gets pushed by the wayside. You need to pay me to write notes. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. You need to pay me a lot per hour because I'm putting in a lot of time outside of this to prepare what you need me to prepare. So it kind of goes, it's the same sort of idea when you pay for music entertainment, but the thing is that you're adding this medical approach, you're adding like research and documentation and training hours. So the payment of service should be more. And I'm going to give you a little example because I did do both, right? So one time I went to a church, right, and I played flute in their orchestra, and they paid, I forget if it was $100 or $200, but it was something like that. Like they gave you a check for playing, and they gave you the music ahead of time, and I think they only gave you the music like a day or two before, right? Yeah, I guess it must have been a day before. It really wasn't that hard. This is going to sound really conceited, but compared to Armenian church music, nothing phases me anymore. So, they gave me, regular Catholic mass hymns, sheet music like for flute. And they gave me one day to learn it, right? And then 1 day of pay. So, and the gig was only, I think it was only like an hour, and then of course we were required to be there like an hour, half an hour prior to the gig. So there you go. So you technically worked, right, 2 hours the day of the gig, and then let's just say it took you 8 to 10 hours to learn the music. I think it only ended up taking me 5, but regardless of the fact, we'll do 10 hours and then 2 hours the day of. So that was 12 hours total. And I said it was, I think 200, it was good. So it must have been $200, I think they gave us. Okay, so $200 was acquired within 12 hours. And that's pretty good, especially like I said, for me, it didn't really take that long to learn the music. So again, like you make out like a bandit, and it's pretty darn good. Now, in terms of music therapy, however, if you're doing a session, like an hour-long session, it does take 3 to 5 hours, right, to prepare the music. And again, like you're not necessarily learning the music like I did for the church gig. You're learning it and you're thinking about it and you're analyzing it and you're researching and you're going through the whole implementation process. So it does require more skills, and when you're new at it, it definitely requires more time. So ideally, I mean, if we think about it number-wise, ideally prepping for a music therapy session that lasts an hour really takes about 16 to 32 hours to prepare, right? Because if we're doing, let's say we're doing the session on a Thursday, you really should start preparing Monday at the latest and then prep Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, especially if you're new. If you're used to music therapy and you've been doing it for a while, you can possibly pull stuff out, and prep it like a couple hours before, a couple days, like a day before. If you're doing, if you're more seasoned and you're used to it, like you're doing a new session, but you're kind of new to it, maybe you could prep in a day or two, So when you first start out, you do need about 3 days, 4 days to like really understand and grasp the concept. And then the more you get used to it, the easier it is. And then you could start pulling stuff out, so you don't need that much time to prep. But in the beginning, you definitely need time to prep, and it's important to get paid fairly. Like, you should get paid, I say it how many times in these videos, you should get paid $30 an hour for your services. So if it takes you 8 hours to prep for that one session, well, they better be paying you $30 an hour to practice and to implement and to research and to go through all the skills that requires you of music therapy. In terms of note taking, like, this has been brought up so many times, and what I don't settle for less, okay? So, like, you pay me $30 an hour to do music therapy, and you pay me $30 an hour to write the notes. That's how I look at it, because that's the way it is in the medical field. Nurses make $30 an hour, okay? Are they making $30 an hour only when they're doing direct care, or are they making $30 an hour regardless of whether it's surgery, direct care, transferring, notes? They make $30 an hour regardless of what the task is, right? Because they're paid on an annual basis. So I deserve the same amount of treatment. And that's how I go about it. Some people they'll settle for a little bit less. They'll settle for half, like $15 an hour when it comes to notes. Just because some people think that's fair. I don't think it's fair. It doesn't work for me. And that's kind of what I'm going to talk about. Like, I have a very business approach to music therapy, and it's only gotten worse since I started my master's program. I have a very financial standpoint when it comes to music therapy, and you can blame that on my education, but let's blame it on society. Let's pretend that I'm a Frankenstein, because I've gotten I had to advocate, the whole 9 yards. I had to advocate for myself. I had to, say, no, I'm not doing this. No, I have to get paid this much. No, I'm arguing until I get my way because I'm an asset. And so I'm going to blame society on making me as harsh as I actually am in terms of money and music therapy. Just because I've gotten pushed over and I've gotten abused and I've gotten mistreated on so many occasions that I've at this point I've just had it, and I've only been practicing for like a year, okay? So that's saying a lot. But in terms of my classmates, because I kind of always had this this standpoint, you need to treat me like a valuable employee. You need to treat me with the same respect that you're treating the nurses with, because technically I am a nurse. Technically I went through the same exact training as they did, right? We all had to do clinicals, we all had to take a million classes, we all had to get board certified. So I went through the same exact process that they did. So I'm not, just because I don't give shots doesn't mean my job's not important. And a lot of times when I talk about my standpoint on money, as a music therapist, I'm getting paid $30 an hour. As a music therapist, I'm getting time to take notes. As a music therapist, I'm getting a lunch break. And a lot of this, whenever I talk about these things, it does come across as very selfish. And in class, we've had multiple discussions when it's the patients come first. The patients are the rewarding, if you take a lunch break, the patients are the ones who, don't get services. If you argue about money, the patients are getting mistreated. The patients potentially could get mistreated. Funding could come out of the patient's, style, or their, food budget, or their activities, or whatever the case may be. So in class, and especially from my professor, I got a lot of slack on, you shouldn't think about money when you think about music therapy. You should really think about music therapy and the services that you're providing. And she was right to a point. You should, in healthcare, patients do come first. Patients are most important. But there are really mean people out there, and I can speak because I am getting an MBA. I am going to be one of those healthcare administrator managers, and I see and I'm learning what goes on in the situation. And those people, I'm sorry, but especially if you work in nonprofit, that's great and that's wonderful, but the managers in nonprofit always, always try to pull one over on the employees. And it's not always like the manager's fault or the supervisor's fault. Sometimes it's just like the board of directors, they're running out of money and that's just the way they are. So, and maybe that's like the best thing that they can do for the business, but like, that's not my job. Like, I'm a music therapist. I need to pay my bills in order to provide the best music therapy. I mean, like, one time I got a job offer as a music therapist and they were going to pay me $10 an hour. And it's like, well, first of all, how am I supposed to be a good music therapist if I get paid $10 an hour? Like, I can't afford my own place. I can't afford to drive to the session. I can't afford food. I can't afford my instruments. You know, I can't afford continuing education. So how am I supposed to be a good music therapist on $10 an hour? And that's always my argument. Like, how am I supposed to provide for these clients to the best of my ability if I don't get paid fairly? If I don't get paid a well-rounded salary? I'm not asking, I honestly don't think that $30 an hour is a lot for what we do. I am a strong advocate of that is the base salary, that is entry level, like, that is fair. And then if you don't pay hourly, you just pay me annually $30 an hour, like whatever that is annually, that's what you pay me. And I don't think that that's anything obscure because, especially hospitals, like they pay, medical professionals, like, as long as you have a board certification, as long as you have like training under your belt, like I don't think that it's wrong of you to ask for that price. And from a management perspective, honestly, if I was a manager and I was told, oh, you have to pay this position $10 an hour, and then, the music therapist argued to me, oh no, $30 an hour, that's the base salary, that's the average for this area, that's the average for my field, look at all of my clinical training, look at all my expertise, look, I will be an asset to the company, I am an asset to the company, I will provide the best service possible for the clients with this salary. I can't do that with only $10 an hour. You have to understand. If somebody came up to me and stated that to me as a manager, of course I would take it and bring it to the board or whoever decides the salary range for music therapists, because it's true. You just have to like speak for yourself. And the point that I'm trying to make when it comes to music therapy and salary, like I talk about it a lot and I advocate for it a lot, and sometimes I feel like I'm a horrible person because I talk about money, and how important it is for me as a music therapist to get paid a lot of money, but you got to think about it like you are a person and you can't help other people until you help yourself. You'll have to at least have a minimum like livable wage, and I'm sorry, 10 an hour isn't livable. 12 an hour isn't livable. I think 18 is probably the lowest you could possibly go and make it a livable salary. I've calculated the numbers before, but you really, like, you have, at 18 an hour, you have the bare minimum, essential, like, you really, like, it's rent, car insurance, food. Like that, maybe a gym membership if you own your car, which, I mean, if you make 18 an hour, you definitely aren't going to own your own car. But you have to remember, and it's most important to think about the resources that you need as a music therapist, and that's mainly the reason why I'm advocating for $30 an hour. Like, you need instruments, you need to practice, you need to have lessons, you need to have certifications, you need to keep up with your continuing education. And that's the main reason why you really should get paid $30 an hour, especially if health insurance isn't covered, especially then like skyrocket it even more, skyrocket it to 35 or 40, yes, if healthcare isn't provided, because then if you get $40 an hour, you'll only be taking home $20. So that's the way I think about it. Does it make me a horrible music therapist? No. I think a lot of people take it the wrong way when I say it because A, they didn't think about it beforehand, or B, they don't want to admit it. Like, nobody wants to admit that people try to take advantage of music therapists. Nobody wants to admit that artists and performers don't get paid fairly, especially if you're in that field. Nobody wants to admit it. Nobody wants to speak about it. Nobody wants to imagine that it's a thing. And here I am, and I'm living in it, and I've lived in it. And like I said, I've got thrown the bone so many times and just abused on so many different levels by employers in terms of salary and health insurance and job security. And I've only been working a year, and I've had it. So that's why I guess my approach is a little bit more intensive than probably what most professors state or other music therapists state. But I'm a straight shooter. I'm an Annie Oakley. Did anybody do that musical? What was it called? Annie, Get Your Gun. She was a sharpshooter. No, I can't shoot. Anything outside isn't me. But the point is that I do state the facts, especially if they're bad and they're negative. And I do come across very harshly about everything because you do need to know. Are you going to be okay financially as a music therapist? Yes. That's why I have this channel, so that way I can teach you how to talk about yourself, how to praise yourself, how to praise music therapy, and how to be an asset to the company. That's the main goal here. The only way you can possibly, well, I mean, it depends on the company, of course, but if you're a music therapist and, like, you present yourself in a really mature manner, and you show that you're an asset, and you show that you can be the best that you possibly can be, and you're going to be an asset to the company, then yeah, you can live on a good wage, a $30 an hour annually wage, and be financially stable. Like, it's totally doable. You just need to have the skills to display yourself in an appropriate manner in order to be taken seriously, in order to get what you want. And that's why I have this channel, because I do want to promote that for you. I want you all to be the best music therapist that you possibly can be, and I want you to overcome certain issues like money, like getting screwed over, like being mistreated as an employee. It's not okay. You put in a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of passion into this field, and your effort deserves to be recognized, especially financially. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. Worrying about finances does not make you a horrible person. It just means, it's just helping you become a better music therapist, right? We're not taking that money and spending it on a Jaguar or what's another nice car? A BMW. We're taking that money and we're actually investing it in lessons, investing it in conferences, investing it in our membership as music therapists. We're investing it in ourselves so that way we can be the best music therapist we can be. And you should not be guilty about that. Okay, have a great day, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye!